Hello there, anybody who's just tuned in. I've just started. I'm Paul Cheel, son of Bill Cheel, whose World War memoirs have been published by pen and sword in fighting through from Dunkirk to Hamburg. I'm at Gold Beach right now, which is one of the British beaches, not far from a place called Arromanches. And on the morning of 6th of June, 7:25, which was H hour, my dad was just approaching the beach on a landing craft, and the 6th and 7th Green Howards and the 5th East Yorks regiments came over from Southampton on a ship called the Empire Lance, and they all gradually got off the ship into landing craft, and the run-in was to take 2 hours. And during that 2 hours the soldiers got thoroughly seasick. But eventually the time came for this first wave of troops to land on the beach. And as they were approaching the beach, a few hundred yards still in the water, Company Sergeant Major Stan Hollis, who was later to be awarded the VC, the Victoria Cross, the only one awarded on D-Day, he saw just behind the beach a pillbox that wasn't marked on the maps, and he decided he'd better give whoever was in the pillbox a warning to skedaddle, and he fired some warning shots from his Bren gun. We'll come back to that in a minute. But as the landing craft was approaching the beach, the helmsman shouted, 100 to go, 75 to go, 50 to go, 25 to go, ramp going down, now. And my dad and his pals all spilled out over the ramp into 3 or 4 feet of water and started scrambling out of the water to get onto the beach. And at this point, one young soldier, Rufty Hill, jumped into a shell hole underneath the water. And as he went into the water, the landing craft surged forward on a wave and drowned and crushed him beneath the boat. As Dad jumped off the landing craft, the soldier in front of him and behind him was shot, killed. Hell, get moving, he said. As the boys scrambled up the beach, they had a few hundred yards to run because it was mid-tide, so they had to dodge bullets and all sorts. And there was a knocked out Sherman tank on the beach. Dad described it sitting helpless like some monster because it was a flail tank which had a huge great roll of chains out the front of it, which were meant to blow up landmines. Behind the tank was Captain Lynn, and he was wounded, but he was waving the men off the beach. But as he was doing that, he got shot again and he was killed. Captain Chambers took over, and he too was wounded, but he managed to carry on. The view you've got at the moment is either side of the central landing point, and there's quite a wide expanse of beach in both directions, and there were troops landing all the way along this beach, but this little bit here was the focal point leading up between the houses. I think on the day they probably didn't come through this point because they would have expected it to have been heavily watched by the German guns, etc. Anyway, Captain Chambers was shouting, "Off the beach, lads, off the beach, get off the bloody beach and give the buggers hell." So that the men didn't need any more urging though, they already knew what they had to do. And for a brief moment they'd get as far as the rocks in front, which is the sea wall. And finally they got off the beach. That was the main danger over. And once they got over the beach, they could relax a little bit But this was the route off the beach up to a place called Crepon, and further up in the distance you can see what was commonly known as the house with a circular drive, which was a landmark for the troops to gather, and that wasn't far off a gun battery that the Green Howards had to target, called the Montfleury gun battery. But just coming up now is the pillbox that Stan Hollis targeted, and when the troops passed it they realised it wasn't a pillbox but a tram shelter. And you can actually see on the corner here all the pock marks that Stan's gun made when he fired at it, and this is now a shrine to the Green Howards that landed, in particular Stan Hollis, who was awarded the Victoria Cross, as I say. So that's the end of that broadcast, and I'll say goodbye for now and hope to see you later on today. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Bye bye.